in the middle of a ghostly forest full of dangers and monsters. Woon Sowol, an abandoned child, was constantly crying. He was saved by 5 legendary masters. They were once great warriors. Precious, nearly reaching the realm of ascending to immortality. But cruel fate took away their internal Dan, turning them into disabled people. They taught him the secrets of Qigong and the ultimate magic. Brave, with a strong will. Their anger and determination for revenge turned Woon Sowol into a fearless warrior. In the middle of a deep forest full of magical beasts, where life and death are only separated by a hair, Woon Sowol faces terrible challenges. Woon Sowol's only choice is to advance or die. Can he survive and escape this hell to complete? Is it a noble mission or not? Woon Sowol's thrilling story officially begins, leading to countless mysteries and surprises waiting ahead. Everyone, please give Manhwa Recap Bro a like, a share, and please subscribe to give us more motivation to bring good stories to you. A middle-aged man with injuries on his body was running away. That cry came from the child in his arms. He hugged the child tightly and whispered, "Young master, you shouldn't cry at this time. Please don't make any more noise, you have to be quiet to survive." After running for a while, he stopped and hid behind a tree. The child in his chest was still crying. Stopped. He cautiously glanced behind him for a moment. Seeing no movement, he breathed out and looked at the baby in his arms. He hadn't had any food or rest for several days. It was natural for him to cry. That's okay, but the young master is really good at enduring it. As expected, he is the son of the homeowner. The baby suddenly stopped crying, smiled at him and cried out, "Papa." The young man smiled, "Haha, do you recognize the villain?" He quickly tore off a piece of cloth from his shirt. "When you grow up, please forgive me for my disrespect." Then he rolled it into a ball and stuffed it into the child's mouth. There are many shortcomings and stupidities, there is no other way but to do this. Young master, you must survive. Just like that, the boy used a cloth to cover his mouth. No matter how much he cried, he couldn't make a sound. The young man then hung him on a tree branch. Copy turned around and ran away to distract the pursuing soldiers. Although he couldn't bear it, in this situation, he had no choice. The next morning, an old man took a parrot for a walk in the garden. Forest. The parrot cried, "Oh, oh, oh," as it flew. Just like the sound of a baby crying. The old man following it laughed. "Ha ha ha. This kid. Okay, I know. You heard the sound, where did you get that from? Are you trying to trick people or is it true?" At this point, he stopped and stared ahead. The parrot stood on the branch hanging. The boy kept calling for him. He walked over and held the baby down. As soon as he took out a towel to cover the baby's mouth, he cried loudly. He patted and comforted him. Where could a child come from in this forest of monsters? What if a demon beast appeared? Right now it's me. First, let's go back to Thong Kai Vong first. He quickly carried the baby back to his village. Under the care of the baby, his body had fallen asleep. After walking for a while, a cloud of fog appeared around him. Behind him suddenly appeared another middle-aged man. Luckily he had returned safely. The old man raised his hand to signal the other person to be quiet. There was a child, it was a boy. The other person looked at the child in surprise. This child is also so cute, how did he get in? This magical beast forest, right? No one can enter the magical beast forest safely. This child looks less than 100 days old, it is impossible to enter here. The two continue walk a little more. Soon the fog opened a gap. A village appeared ahead. The old man told the person next to him, "Call the other 3 people over, introduce them." The new member of our village gave it to them. After a while the remaining 3 people in the village all came. They were respectively a big man with a beard and an old man with a small body. Finally a blonde teenager. The old man brought the child in front of everyone. "Let's greet him. From today this child will live with us," the small-bodied old man asked suspiciously. "Where have you gone now? And where did you bring this child from?" The white-haired old man's face darkened. "Are you asking if this is my child?" "Huh?" The short old man nervously scratched his head. "Haha, I know this is not my senior's child, but are we going to raise this child together?" The silver-haired old man nodded. "Now I agree. Do you understand what I mean? Starting from today we will raise this child together. An old man like me cannot take on this role alone." The blonde young man was suddenly unconscious. If you want to speak up, raise or teach this child, you should say it clearly. I just said that, but I have no arms so I can't take care of him, and I also have no intention of educating him, so the matter of bringing this child back here has nothing to do with me. The old short man put his hands on his hips angrily. You're really cold. You're sick with an amputated arm and you only think about yourself. Old man. The white-haired man spoke harshly. Jong-gon, don't say those cruel words. There's no one here who's sick. Haven't we all been stripped of our inner pills? The short man saw him. When I said my name, I smiled faintly. I told you not to reveal or inquire about each other's identities in this village. Why are you suddenly exposing each other's identities? I don't know if my predecessors know that the talented artist has a beautiful face like a natural, making many girls' hearts fall in love. Above all, that person is famous throughout the world for his medical and alchemy skills. The senior's knowledge of medicine and herbs reminds me of that person. The white-haired old man's face sank. Are you kidding me? I am the one who is called a student. That's the judge Li Hu. The 4 people who heard him reveal his identity were all startled. Li Hu glanced at them and smiled, not automatically revealing it, but also hiding it. What to do next? Surely 4 of the 5 people here already know each other's identities. The middle-aged man next to him immediately clasped his hands. I am Yun Su-wan, and the alias Fei Yao Jinin. Please forgive me for not revealing my identity to my senior first. The short man also spoke up. If you took the initiative to reveal your identity, then I won't hide it any longer, sir. Jong-gon, who is called the face of the heavenly demon knife, is my servant. The other bearded old man also smiled and said his name. I am Feng Gao Chu. When Jong-gon heard his name, he was startled. I'm surprised. So it's you, the one they call Golden Hands, with that kind of strength of yours. If you have to disguise yourself as a wooden hoe cutter, you must feel very uncomfortable. The following people, they all looked at the blonde-haired young man. At the same time, the blonde-haired young man turned his head and looked gloomy with no intention of revealing his identity. After a moment, Li Hu let this go and asked, do you guys have any guesses? Figure out why I revealed my identity. Yun Su-wan immediately replied, we all understood the senior's intention. Didn't the senior want us to consider this child as a community specialist? Li Hu nodded, that's right. Even though we have become criminals and have our inner core removed, this child is different from us. He must be protected by us, then only to be able to survive in this forest of magical beasts, right? The crowd unanimously agreed, what you said is right. Jong-gon walked up to the boy to observe, that's a good idea. But we should also see if this child has some kind of innate immortal bone, right? Li Hu brought the boy closer to his face, who am I? Of course we have our own secret. This child definitely has innate immortality. He will be a great success before we leave. You guys are not against raising this child together, right? None of the 4 spoke up to refute. Li Hu next took out a ring. Then I will show you this. This is the ring on this child, you saw it. Have you ever seen something similar? Jong-gon walked over and reached out to take the ring. From the looks of it, it's not an ordinary ring. Let Jong-gon take a closer look. After observing for a moment, he sighed, it's a pity. Perhaps it has to be filled with spiritual energy for it to exert its ability. Surely Feng Gao Chu has recognized that this is a high-class magic weapon made from iron, right? Yun Su-wan stared at the ring and exclaimed. The inside of the ring was engraved with the words, Holy Fire destroys pure earth. Which means that once the altar lit by the sacred fire collapses, then what will happen? A peaceful time will appear, perhaps where the conflict between old and new forces occurred. Jong-gon asked again, Senior, can you guess where that is? The remaining 3 people all shook their heads at the same time. From beginning to end, the blonde young man stood to the side without speaking. After a while, Li Hu spoke up again, an organization we don't know about. So what's so important? We ourselves don't know what's real and what's ghost, let alone about this child. Everyone nodded, Senior said it right. Li Hu continued, now the only important thing left is to name this child. Jong-gon smiled, Senior is an adult. It's here, you should name him. Li Hu stared at the boy, before I had 2 daughters I had a son. Unfortunately he got sick and I had to carry out the master's orders, so I couldn't be by his side. When I returned, I tried my best to save him but had to give up. If I couldn't save my own son, what kind of face would I have? Having the name of being a judge of life and death. Yun Soo-won sighed sympathetically. What a sad story. Surely that child will be reincarnated into a wonderful person like Senior. Lee Hoo smiled and mocked himself. I am what's so great about demonic people. Yun Soo-won explained. How can someone who doesn't care about the worldly things, only cares about researching medicine to save people, not be wonderful? Lee Hoo sighed. Don't exaggerate too much. Furthermore, aren't there many people who have been treated by me and still can't live? I personally buried that boy. His name was Sowol. I just found out that the ring that can reveal this child's identity is made from iron. So how about naming him Sowol? Jong Gon smiled. If Senior Lee Hoo said so, how dare you say otherwise? I followed your advice. Feng Gao Chu also smiled and nodded. I agree. Yun Soo-won nodded. What a good name. Blondehair replied coldly. I am not his master. You can name it whatever you like. Lee Hoo laughed loudly. Starting from this moment, Sowol will be the community specializing in life and death judges. Lee Hoo. Fei Yao Jinin. Yun Soo-won. Golden Hands. Feng Gao Chu. The Thousand-Faced Dagger. Jong Gon. I will teach him medical techniques and alchemy, teach him the knowledge of herbs and even the use of poison. I will pass on the whole world's Qigong to him. Jong Gon was shocked. Heavenly Qigong is a rare Qigong in the world. Only the owner of Blood Luo Bao can practice it. How could Senior Lee Hoo pass it on to Sowol? Yun Soo-won laughed. Haha, even though I just heard rumors, but surely there is no Qigong that nourishes spiritual energy better than it. Then I will teach it how to distinguish and train demonic beasts and formations. Lee Hoo looking at him suspiciously. You wouldn't be able to hide those demonic spell formations lightly, would you? Yun Soo-won smiled and explained, void and evil prison formations, Ghost Valley hidden shadow formations and even Yuan to you another illusory formation. I will pass it all on. Jong Gon glanced at Feng Gao Chu. They both passed on such great secret techniques to Sowol. Feng Gao Chu must be feeling very pressured. Feng Gao Chu replied calmly. I will teach him how to make treasures. Jong Gon widened his eyes in surprise and shouted in excitement. Feng Gao Chu brother, can you really make treasures? It's not a magic weapon or magic weapon. Is that what Win said wrong? Feng Gao Chu smiled. I didn't say anything wrong. Jong Gon shyly walked away from them and waved his hand. I have nothing to teach him other than the talent of stealing and running away. Telekinesis, Phi Lin Bo. That is to say the method is not unfamiliar to other people. And the earth-moving technique and bone contact technique are very helpful when falling into danger. Lee Hoo glanced at him and advised, this precious method of yours is enough to surpass other methods. It's time for a bad trainer. Remember to teach properly. Jong Gon proudly scratched his head and smiled, haha, it's no big deal. After the four people discussed it, they all silently looked at Woon Sowol. Kid, don't you? Knowing that he had 4 masters, he still slept soundly. After a while, Jong Gon turned his head to look at the blonde young man. At his surprised look, quickly carried Woon Sowol away. Come in front of him, you should look at it too. Even if you're not a master, you still have to live with it until you die. It's okay if you don't treat it well, but please don't hate it. Isn't Woon Sowol like a human? He also slowly died in the forest of magical beasts. Time just flew by so quickly. 10 years have passed. Kneeling inside, Lee's scolding echoed. Who kept spreading? Why are you so stupid? If you don't memorize all the names of the spiritual herbs today, don't bother going anywhere. After scolding him for a while, he went out and left. Waited for him to leave before Woon Sowol was inside before breathing out. At this moment, Jong Gon suddenly poked his head in from outside. Why are you sighing? There's an earthquake right now. This guy. Woon Sowol is now 10 years old. He was sitting in the house studying when he saw Jong Gon and immediately excitedly exclaimed, is the 4th master human? The two went out the door to confide. Jong Gon asked suspiciously, do you not know the names of the spiritual herbs anymore? Woon Sowol nodded, yes, you really are a stupid person. Jong Gon consoled, stupid is not stupid. Can't you also learn from the teachings of other masters? It's just because Senior Lee Hoo is so talented, everyone sees it like that. Woon Sowol sadly sighs, yes maybe that's it. Jong Gon continued, the older people get, the more worried they become. There's a lot, so don't blame yourself or blame Senior Li Hu too much. Un Sowol sadly asked, will the fourth master really not live much longer? Zhang Gan glanced at him and smiled. Then he reached out and rubbed his head. Kid, if Senior Li Hu was still a magician, he could live another 800 years. I thought I could live to 1,000 years, but now that day I am at most just an old man with a broken body. Becoming old and weak and dying is also a normal thing. Un Sowol, why don't you pay attention? Listen to Senior Li Hu's teachings more? That way, Senior Li Hu will also feel more secure, right? Un Sowol nodded, yes. Zhang Gan put his hand in his chest to search for something. Okay, our gentle Un Sowol, how many times have I said it? Masters, he had just finished speaking when Un Sowol shouted loudly, Masters always treat me well. You must trust and listen to everyone. As for others, you must be unconditionally suspicious. Absolutely do not trust anyone. Zhang Gan took out a few peaches and gave them to him. Okay, eat this. Go! Un Sowol exclaimed excitedly, is this a fairy peach? There were 3 results. Did you just come back from out? Zhang Gan smiled, just lucky, I also caught a goat and brought it back. Un Sowol looked at him excitedly, my fourth master also wants to go out. Zhang Gan stood up and stretched, his voice was harsh, I can't forget what the great master said. Un Sowol sighed sadly, can't step out of this village until I break through the heavenly gate. Zhang Gan smiled and nodded. I'm learning the heavenly qigong from Senior Li Hu. Entering Tai Thien KY will definitely be very soon. I will go pick more peaches for you, so study hard. Un Sowol looked at his back and nodded excitedly. Yes, master, rest assured. Soon the sun went down the mountain. It was midnight, but Un Sowol was still sitting by the tree, tiredly reading a book. Just as he was dimly preparing to fall asleep, suddenly there was a sound outside. The goat's cry startled him awake. He quickly went to the window and poked his head out to take a look. In the yard, a young blonde man was currently feeding grass to the goat with his foot. Un Sowol saw he didn't seem to be very comfortable, so he left. Let me help you. The blonde shook his head. Just let me do it. I'm disabled, I'm not useless, so I can just sit and play around forever. If you want, then come and pet this goat. Un Sowol nodded excitedly, yes. You sat down with pleasure and caressed the white goat. This goat is said to have been caught from outside. Outside there must be many strange things out there. But is the world out there really that dangerous? The blonde young man said, I can't stand the storms out there, so aren't my masters always trying to train me? Un Sowol nodded sadly, yes, that's true. Like that. Seeing the happy kid suddenly sitting there sullenly, the blonde couldn't help but sigh. Come sit next to me. Wait for Un Sowol to come sit next to him before the blonde continued. You're so smart that you can practice qigong across the world, but you're not good at memorizing, right? Un Sowol nodded, yes. Blonde hair points, then read this formula 3 times before sleeping and after waking up. You will automatically remember them in your heart. Un Sowol widened his eyes in surprise. He was about to ask something, but the blonde continued, don't ask random questions. Learn it by heart. Next, he said the mantra. When Un Sowol heard these mantras, it was like lightning struck his ears. Seeing him just sitting there blankly, the blonde immediately explained. I will explain when you have memorized them, don't be too pressured. Un Sowol regained consciousness and smiled and nodded, thank you. The blonde then asked again, this is the first secret I gave you. I know, Un Sowol nodded, that's right. Time passed so quickly, another 5 years passed. Un Sowol was now 15 years old. He sat in front of Li Hu and said, according to the formula, add 4 parts of bamboo shoots, 2 wings of grass, 7 parts of bamboo and ginseng, 3 parts of bamboo, and then use the great heat monkey technique to adjust the heat. If the temperature is too high, the dan will dry and crack. If the temperature is too low, the knitting will not clump together. Li Hu lying on the bed applauded, good job Un Sowol, I have nothing more to teach you. Now you just use the knowledge you have acquired. Thanks to you, this old man can spend the last years of his life happily. Even though I am no longer there, remember to listen to the monks. Father, you must definitely practice diligently. Un Sowol nodded seriously, I will remember what you told me, master. Li Hu continued, It seems I don't have much time left, everyone is gathered here. So I will tell you a story that I have buried for a long time. This place, once entered, cannot be escaped like this forest monster. There is still a way to escape from here. When Zhang Gan and the others heard that, they were frightened. Was what Senior Li Hu said true? It turns out that person isn't talking nonsense. What is that way? Li Hu slowly explained, I used to be the master pharmacist of Hyalabo, one of the 3 great devils of Yeonam Kingdom. My medical reputation is quite famous, so there are also some special characters. Specifically came to ask me to treat them. One of them was extremely seriously injured. His whole body was covered with no ability to move. That person told me that he was injured while escaping from a demon forest. He said that deep in a certain cave, there was a teleportation formation that needed spirit stones to activate. There was a 9-Tai Gao dragon guarding that place and he killed it. Yun Su Wan was frightened. The place where the 9-Tai Gao dragon lives must be a place rich in spiritual energy, so that place could be a lotus pond or a volcano, although it is not an easy thing. But if Woon Sowol wants to get out, we have to find that place in the magical beast forest. Li Hu nodded, you're right, we'll have to hide instead in this magical beast forest. But Woon Sowol is different. Woon Sowol? Woon Sowol ran to his side. Yes, master, please help me. Li Hu clearly told me. At all costs, I must escape from this dangerous demonic beast. The masters hope that I will repay our kindness. Woon Sowol firmly replied, even if I die, I will definitely repay the kindness of my masters. Li Hu smiled, of course it must be like that. The heavenly qigong that I learned is magic, so you have to practice hard to get out. However, Qianshan qigong is not perfect. Zhang Gan gasped in horror, isn't that right? What do you mean? Why teach him martial arts that have such disadvantages? Li Hu explained that this imperfect heavenly qigong is a type of qigong with strong yang qi. The deeper you practice, the easier it is to control yang qi. Strong yang qi is helpful for breakthroughs. There are many subjects. But on the contrary, if you cannot control them, you will not only suffer physical pain, but you can also lose everything you have cultivated all your life. In the past, I have treated to treat Master Hyalabo for the side effects of heavenly qigong. But at that time, because of blinded ambition, I secretly stole his qigong formula. At the same time, I also wanted to be by my children's side. My newly born daughter for a long time. I thought that I would soon be able to enter the heavenly palace thanks to the Qianshan qigong. But I did not expect that I would be discovered and chased to this place. He brought hand holding Woon Sowol's hand. Woon Sowol, if you want to get out of here, you must find a Qianshan qigong that has no disadvantages. Woon Sowol nodded, yes master, I understand. I will find a Qianshan qigong that has no weaknesses. Li Hu nodded, okay. In the future, if you have the chance, stop by Hyalabo of Yeonam Kingdom. Tell the news about me to my wife and my 2 daughters Oksu Sun and Okso So, and if they are in trouble, please try to help them. Woon Sowol nodded, I remember, master. After saying everything, Li Hu closed his eyes and left, and the group immediately followed. Took his body to be cremated. Even though they had mentally prepared in advance, everyone still couldn't suppress their grief. The second master taught me how to set up the formation. Because there were no materials to do it. Refining magic weapons, Master Tam can only teach me how to control fire. The 2 of them keep talking about habits, powers and things that can be obtained from demon beasts day and night, too. Master has helped me reach the realm of non-lean bow and shun bow, including techniques that are very useful to me such as earth release technique, bone contact technique, fluid translation technique, and the great method of returning to life. 3 more years passed by. Woon Sowol said while pulling out Zhang Gan's hair, I feel very grateful to my masters these days. Zhang Gan smiled. Why does this guy suddenly say that? What are you talking about? What are you worried about? Woon Sowol smiled. Are you worried? If you don't have time to study, where will you have time to worry? The 4th master's hair has turned half of his head white. I'm afraid you'll go bald after I pull all this out. Zhang Gan's face was serious. Stop beating around the bush and say it straight. I keep seeing this lately. I sighed deeply. What's going on that makes you look so worried? Woon Sowol replied, lately my lower abdomen has been feeling the heavenly gate. It's very hard. No matter how much I use my spiritual power to attack, I can't break through. Zhang Gan hung excited. Have you finally felt the heavenly eunuch gate? Please sit down next to me. Wait for Woon Sowol to sit down in front of you and he will begin to explain. The doctor wants to pass the next stage. This is a very difficult task, but you have it. I've already blocked the heavenly qigong. If I practice diligently, I will soon break through the heavenly gate. Woon Sowol still asked sadly, how long will it take? If you don't take medicine to strengthen your internal strength. Before he could finish his sentence, Zhang Gan slapped him with a cup. This guy is only 18 years old and keeps whining that he can't go in. What is Thien Tai Ky? Even a natural magician takes hundreds of years, not to mention the countless people who have already died in the middle of the natural period. I have learned a lot of formations. I can completely hide my body when falling into danger caused by demonic beasts. The demonic beast forest has many rare spiritual herbs and demonic beasts. You will easily find the ingredients to make the medicinal pills needed for cultivation. Woon Sowol immediately nodded. Yes, I know. Zhang Gan walked over and put his arm around his shoulder and smiled. Don't go too far. Be sure to return before dark. Absolutely stay away from demonic beasts. Quickly choose all kinds the spiritual herbs are needed for alchemy and will return immediately. When Woon Sowol was allowed to go out, he was extremely excited. Yes, master. The next day, as soon as it was dawn, Woon Sowol went out of the village alone, looking at the color of the flower petals. This is the earth spirit grass. The skull-shaped petal over there is probably the devil's bone grass. This small, round yellow petal is the golden root. The sun is already about to set, huh? I have to hurry back to the village. Woon Sowol then quickly headed back towards the village. He performed the running technique while excitedly applauding. Phi Lin Bo compared to when used in a narrow village. Using it becomes much faster and requires less effort here. As expected, the four masters were right. This is truly a great learning. Being able to go out like this is really good. It feels like a flower is blooming on my chest. While running, he suddenly stopped. Wait. I was so engrossed in searching for spiritual herbs to make alchemy for myself. I forgot to bring something back to give to my masters. I have to go catch a chicken or a goat or something. Just bring it back. Thinking of the happy faces of his master and group when receiving the gift, Woon Sowol's mouth couldn't help but lift up. Thinking of this, he jumped up onto the tree trunk opposite. I have to get back to the village before sunset, so I have to find it quickly. Suddenly he raised the engine and looked back. What's with the goosebumps? Not far behind him, there was a goat eating grass. The goat also noticed him and looked up. Woon Sowol immediately jumped down from the tree. Is it a goat? I have to use the non-contact to catch that goat. But wait, what exactly is this cold feeling? Unlike when I encountered that goat. Thinking for a moment he turned around and hid behind a tree. Size today is only the first day out. Can't risk it until next time then caught it. At this moment, a giant wolf came out from the bushes nearby. Woon Sowol looked at the three-headed wolf in front of him and immediately turned to stone. The three wolf heads quickly turned to stone, screaming at him extremely fiercely. Woon Sowol just looked at it and recognized its name. It's a low-level demon beast with 3 heads and wolves. I'm new to alchemy so I have to avoid it. Anyway, I don't have the method. No way, the 36th plan of running away is the best policy. No, although it was really quick to run on foot, if I had time to turn around, it might have caught me. But why is it such a coincidence? Faced with a situation like this, I was very calm inside. Even at the moment when the 3-headed wolf attacked me, I was still very calm and tried to avoid it. Although this shun step was very destructive, consumes spiritual energy, but can teleport short distances in an instant. How could I be defeated by the claws of the 3-headed wolf? The 3-headed wolf has not yet discovered that Woon Sowol has run up behind him. Its 3 heads are still looking at the spot where he stood, growling. Woon Sowol's mouth raised. Can I catch him? Is it not? The 3-headed monkey wolf had also discovered him from behind. It quickly growled and rushed towards him. Woon Sowol didn't pay attention to it. He tried teleportation to avoid it and searched for small stones on the ground to pick them up. After a moment, he stood back and seriously looked at the 3-headed wolf. It's already been prepared. Now I can only use one attack technique, the one that my master taught me. Looking at the 3-headed wolf rushing in front of me, spiritual power immediately radiated from Woon Sowol's body. He waved his hand and threw out a few stones in his hand, using the dark magic technique to hit the most dangerous wind. The three-moon wolf that was rushing towards his head was immediately punched with a hole. Watching the monster being defeated, lying on the ground, Woon Sowol couldn't contain his excitement and exclaimed, "I did it. Thank you very much everyone." Images of the old men in the village appeared in his mind again. At this time he suddenly remembered, "It's a big deal. I promised my master not to fight with the demon beast." A moment later, Woon Sowol brought the three-headed wolf back to the village. The people saw him carrying the demon beast. When they returned, everyone frowned. Jong Gon held his head and shouted in excitement, "This guy told me to leave quickly and come back quickly. He came back after sunset. What else are you doing here?" Woon Sowol stood in front of the body of the three-headed wolf and bowed his head apologetically, "I'm sorry." Jong Gon ran to him and lectured him, "This guy is only 18 years old and is already doing it on his own? You think the masters will praise you when you ignore our words? Did you catch a demon beast and bring it back?" "This time I just got lucky," Woon Sowol explained. "But master," before you could finish your sentence, Jong Gon interrupted, "Oh hey, are you still trying to make excuses? This guy, shut up and shut up." Woon Sowol sadly bowed her head, "I didn't." Woon Sowol then spoke up, "This is my first time going out." Woon Sowol nodded, "Yes, it's the first time." Woon Sowol asked again, "Why did you go out?" Woon Sowol explained, "Because I want to break through to the Taishan gate, even though I don't remember who said I could go out. But the Taishan gate is too solid, there's no sign of it ever opening. I wanted to shorten the time to practice, so he went looking for the training materials needed to break through the gate." Woon Sowol was surprised, "Is that so? When you go out, what do you see outside?" Woon Sowol replied, "Even though I had collected the spirit grass and encountered the three-headed wolf, there was no danger at all. When I continuously used Filene bow, I felt like my chest was full. So energetic." Woon Sowol turned his head to look at Feng Gao Chu again. "The bones and skin of the three-headed wolf, can you make them into flags?" Feng Gao Chu smiled and nodded. Woon Sowol saw that and immediately smiled and went to Woon Sowol. He patted his shoulder and sighed, "Woon Sowol, from today maybe you will. I feel like this village is cramped and frustrating. I will blame the masters for not letting me go out." Woon Sowol shook his head, "It's nothing, master." Woon Sowol continued to talk without paying attention. "We stop you from doing what you want. It's natural for you to feel resentment. Of course we also want to see you quickly ascend to heaven. Breaking through the gate is a very difficult and dangerous thing. With our abilities we want to be by your side, help you and turn you into a warrior of the Millennium while we are still alive." Woon Sowol was excited, exclaimed, "Is this true, master?" Woon Sowol bluntly replied, "Have I ever lied to you?" Woon Sowol was excited, "Never once." Woon Sowol smiled. "Third master will make a flag for you. If you can fly out to the Ghost Valley to hide in the shadow formation with those flags, then I will let you allow me to go out." Woon Sowol immediately walked over and hugged Feng Gao Chu's hand tightly, pulling him away. "Third master, quickly make chess. I have learned and practiced the Ghost Valley hidden shadow formation a lot. I can set up the battle right away. Hurry up and do it." A moment later, Woon Sowol and Feng Gao Chu made the flag. Feng Gao Chu sat next to him, making the flag and explaining. Using spiritual energy to control the fire, while imagining a dagger. How to adjust the fire is the most important factor when practicing magic weapons. So remember to pay close attention to that point. Starting with this dagger. We will hunt many low-level weak beasts, collect more materials, and then practice deeper techniques. Now, use the wind power of the wind to cool the dagger. Let's go. Woon Sowol heard that and immediately stopped to control the fire. Immediately performed the wind magic to cool the knife. After a moment, he raised the knife towards Feng Gao Chu. "My master finished. Is this a group of swords and magic weapons?" Feng Gao Chu shook his head. "It's just a dagger. It can't even be considered the lowest level magic weapon." Woon Sowol asked in surprise, "So how long do I have to practice hard to be able to create the lowest level magic weapon?" Feng Gao Chu answered without hesitation, 3 years. "Okay, I have to quickly finish the 12 flags so you can go rest." Woon Sowol stood up and went into the house. I guess I don't have time to rest. I'm trying to make medicinal pills with the spiritual herbs I've collected. Feng Gaochu nodded. If so, then just a dagger is not enough. You should also create a weapon to protect yourself. A few days later, early in the morning, a sound could be heard from Yun Su Wan's house. Done. He looked at the pill. The medicine in my hand exhaled. The first medicinal pill I succeeded in refining after 5 tries. What a difficult task. I used up all the spiritual herbs I collected. It turns out there was a slight mistake. In terms of the amount of spirit herbs, the dryness, the fire temperature or the way of refining, it is still impossible to refine medicinal pills. These 9 herbs help to eliminate impurities in the body. I don't know how much there is for me. It's effective, try drinking it to know. Thinking of this, he immediately put the medicinal pill in his mouth and drank it. Can it help me break through the Thien Tai Quan gate immediately? Right on time. Hey, there's a sound outside. I just made something and drank it right away. This isn't the material to make medicinal pills for meditating. Un Sowol replied a little angrily. I don't want to tell anyone about his words and actions. Zhang Gan laughed outside. Looks like you're still angry with me, huh? You probably don't know that I usually tell my seniors that you are good at flying, shun, etc. Even if you go out, nothing happens countless times. Un Sowol was surprised. Really? Did you really say that to them? Zhang Gan sneered in his heart. Of course I lied and was a brat. In my heart I thought so, but on the outside I smiled and nodded. Of course, if it's okay, it's so easy to let me out. Un Sowol scratched his head in disbelief and laughed. Oh, that's right. Zhang Gan said again. Feng Gaochuan has finished making the flag. Let's go see it together. Un Sowol excitedly stood up. So fast. A moment later, Zhang Gan's 3 people were all standing outside in the yard. Yun Su Wan looked ahead and ordered. Okay, now step out of the formation. Next, before, even though there was no sign of anyone, Un Sowol's voice rang out. Yes, master. Very quickly he stepped out of the void. How do you feel, master? I made it through the door. Yun Su Wan nodded. Although Feng Gao Chiuhin's flags are great, Un Sowol's formation is equally perfect. Great, now we just need to have the right weapon, then you can go out freely. Un Sowol turned around and held up his pile of weapons, smiling. 2 daggers, 8 bamboo darts flying at a glance. Is this enough? After that day, the people did not stop Un Sowol from going out anymore. He was completely free to move around outside the village. He ran through the forest and silently sighed. This is going to be difficult. For the past 3 months, I've been walking around the village, but low-level demon beasts and spirit herbs. Other than them, I haven't seen any spirit beasts. He remembered Feng Gaochu's advice. Looks like it's time to practice the magic weapon. Go find the spirit stone and bring it back here. Un Sowol ran deep into the forest, running and thinking. Spirit stone is a type of stone that naturally appears in places. Has a lot of spiritual energy. People often find it in mountains or lands where the sun doesn't shine. Let's go a little further and try to find it. After a while he stopped under the foot of the mountain. When you get closer, you can see the beautiful scenery. A large rocky mountain with no end in sight. There will probably be spiritual herbs and spiritual stones here, right? If you can use the wolfberry, it won't be damaged. It's easy. Unfortunately, I haven't reached the heavenly state yet. I have to climb there with my bare hands. I've been climbing for an hour now, but I'm not too tired. I've practiced and taken a lot of medicinal pills. Of course, it's not a waste at all. With grass growing everywhere like this, there must be spiritual herbs, right? Climb a little more and he immediately exclaims, sure enough, I guessed right, this is the Corolla guess. Climb a little more. His jaw dropped once more. In front of him appeared another spiritual herb. And that was Yoam flower. He didn't expect to see such a rare spiritual herb here. He quickly accelerated the speed of climbing up to pick spiritual herbs. After a while he left the room and turned around to look back. Heard that places with spiritual herbs often attract demonic beasts. As soon as he finished speaking, his eyebrows frowned. Again, what could that be? As soon as he finished speaking, a giant bird rushed towards him. It was a scene depicting a low-level demon beast. Without flinching, Un Sowol threw a few stones and performed the most dangerous bamboo shoot. But unexpectedly, a few stones shot onto the scene's body, but they didn't cause any damage to it. Un Sowol silently lamented, "There's something wrong with this demon beast. It turns out it has eaten a lot of spiritual herbs, so it has evolved to intermediate level. It seems a bit difficult to catch it. To return safely, we need to concentrate more. But why doesn't it attack me? Is it because it's afraid of damaging Yoam flower that it doesn't attack? If so, then Yoam flower is my talisman." Thinking for a moment, he raised his hand and pulled out the spiritual herb. Gun Min Ju saw that and screamed extremely angrily. Un Sowol saw its attitude was awakened. Sure enough, even though it was angry, it still didn't directly attack me. It's a pity, but I had to use Yoam flower to distract it. It was too far to climb down. I had to climb to the top of the mountain and find a place to hide. Looks like I ignored the warnings of my masters and underestimated the wild beasts too much. Looking at the screaming scene next to me, Un Sowol immediately waved his hand and threw Yoam flower down. Just as he predicted, the scene immediately left him flying to chase the spiritual herb. Un Sowol took this moment to speed up and rush towards the top of the mountain. Soon he saw the top of the mountain. He excitedly jumped up. "Okay, I can hide myself here." He quickly took out a few sticks from his shoulder bag. The flag was then thrown on the ground to set up a formation, and the Ghost Valley's hidden shadow formation was immediately displayed. The Gun Min Condor quickly flew up from the mountain, and it continued non-stop, turned sideways to look for Un Sowol, but Un Sowol had now entered a state of hiding inside the formation. How could it be seen? Looking at the attitude of the scene depicting Un Sowol and his heart. "I'm so nervous, I'm dead. It looks so angry, it probably won't let me go easily." At that moment the ground suddenly shook violently. A demon pig's whole body fiery, coming from afar. Un Sowol looked at its appearance and immediately recognized it. A jade pig with fire emitting from its body. It must be a Jadekin pig intermediate level demon beast. Jadekin the pig opened his mouth to condense the flames. Above the scene, the sculpture also opened his mouth to condense the storm. Un Sowol hid in the middle, watching the two monsters prepare to collide, making his heart even more tense. Very quickly, the wind and the fire began to collide, and an extremely terrifying explosion immediately spread out in all directions. Un Sowol was scared in his heart. Could this be the power of the battle between the tribes? Intermediate demon beast? I didn't expect it to be this fierce. One collision wasn't enough. The sight of Min Condor flying down like a giant arrow, diving headfirst straight towards the jade pig's liver. Un Sowol saw it rushing down and was even more scared. The jade liver pig below did not show any love, opening its mouth and screaming loudly. The two sides directly collided head-on, using their bodies to fight each other. Un Sowol influenced by their influence. The battle flag was quickly blown away. His body also appeared from a hidden state and flew back. The two monster beasts collided head-on immediately, launched a terrifying explosion, waited for the dust to dissipate. Un Sowol's struggling figure was revealed. He looked at the devastated scene in front of him and silently lamented his luck. If it weren't for Yoam flower look, maybe I would have been killed under the power of that demon beast. Luckily, the Jadekin pig appeared just in time, and the two demon beasts that collided were now lying unconscious in a pile of rocks and soil. Un Sowol quickly jumped down. I heard that mid-level demon beasts often have internal pills. I had to go down and check to see if I can find anything. After a while he found the internal pills inside the jade liver pig's belly. Here it is. I didn't expect that a small stone like this could emit fire. Take the feathers of the scene and I can create a magic weapon. Just take the internal pill of the jade can and go there. There was more unexpected joy. It was Yoam flower that the scene saw caught, licking a person, and he quickly jumped out of the hole. Yoam flower, the internal pill of the jade pig along with the scene's feathers. The sculptures and the spirit stones around here, this time is dangerous, but the harvest is quite rich. I have to quickly clean up and return before it gets dark. Intermediate monster hunting of Un Sowol has made the whole village vibrate. Feng Gao Chu has started to make a phoenix capsule for Un Sowol. The phoenix capsule is one of the extremely important magical tools for the monks, even though it is only one. Although the bag is small, it can hold a lot of things. It looks like a small hemp bag, but it can store countless useful ingredients. During the day, Woon Sowol uses capsule photography to search for ingredients, materials and spirit stones. At night, efforts were made to create magical weapons, and pills were used to support the process of breaking through the Tai Thien Quan Gate. Time passed very quickly. Another 3 months had passed. Zhang Gan stood outside the door and looked at Woon Sowol smiling, so worried that he had finally finished refining the pill. Woon Sowol reminded, "Pills that were made wrongly will become poison. I believe in your ability, but we also have to come to help you in case something goes wrong. We have taken so many medicinal pills, so we also know how to help you when something goes wrong. So everyone newbie here, but it seems like you've made everyone worry for nothing." Woon Sowol sat in the house and calmly replied, "I put all my heart and soul into this so there won't be any mistakes." Zhang Gan laughed and behaved, in front of the second master, "You should also be a little humble, quickly drink that wonderful medicine or I will steal it." Woon Sowol smiled and looked at them. Then he brought the medicinal pill to his mouth and drank it. Next, he crossed his legs and realized. Very quickly, sweat continued to flow from his face. It felt like the fire of the jade pig's liver was burning. Spread and burned all over the stomach and body. Then when did it become cold and burning? The cold air seeped into the bones and chilled the whole body. Woon Sowol was next to loudly reminded, "Yes, grit your teeth and endure. If you open your mouth, half of the aura accumulated in your body will escape from there." Woon Sowol listened to his words and tried to endure, and soon there was a halo from his body. The light circulated, the spiritual energy gathered into his dantian. He slowly dissolved the medicinal power of the pill, and soon he completely refined the pill. He slowly woke up, inside the pill. His face was filled with seriousness as he looked at the door in front of him. He slowly stood up, with a faint spiritual energy surrounding him. He walked to the gate of the royal official. Then slowly raise your hand. This time the Tai Thien Quan Gate was not as tough as before. Very quickly the gate was opened. Woon Sowol also quickly woke up from his practice. Zhang and the others, everyone in Gan, looked at him extremely attentively. After a while Woon Sowol fully regained consciousness. Zhang Gan exclaimed excitedly, "Is it a success? You have ascended to the heavenly state, living for more than 400 years. Only in heaven have I witnessed this scene." Woon Sowol smiled and walked over. "Now you have truly entered the path of a true warrior. From now on you have taken off your human form and gradually become shaped like the sky." The standard of a magician starts from the alchemy stage, forming internal pills in the body to increase strength. Followed by the heavenly stage, the magician reaches the realm. This will take off its human form and become similar in form to the sky. Moving up to the next level is Tri-An Ky. This is the stage of exchanging spiritual energy. The wizard at this stage will be able to use the aura shield to protect themselves. After Tri-An Ky is Yongquan Ky. In this realm, the healer can use true fire samadhi and gain fire consciousness. Followed by the Dean Fan stage. This is the period where the healer will step into the root of all things. Existence, thanks to the concentration of spirit and spirit. Finally reaches the heavenly palace period. This is the realm of pure immortals without dust. Although we have been abandoned in the practice and become mortal, but if I become more pure and enter the celestial palace period, there is nothing better than. Woon Sowol nodded, "Yes, master. I will definitely become a celestial palace knight, thank you. Thank you everyone for being by my side and watching me while I was breaking through the gates." "But how much time has passed?" Zhang Gan replied bluntly, 1 month. After breaking through the heavenly period, 1 month. Woon Sowol only went outside the village again today. Now it's no longer cramped for him to move around. Things are the same as before. The body gently climbing a mountain top is just a matter of minutes. I planned to come here after ascending to the heavenly state, but it's nothing special like I thought. He stood on the top of the mountain looking at the sunset in the distance. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but turn up a little. Although it's nothing special, standing on the top of the mountain like this, the feeling is still really new. Suddenly he noticed a mountain not far away. That place was near the cliff where the eagle and the jade crocodile fought last time. Looking from here, he saw something there. He quickly flew away and performed light attack in that direction. It would be great if there were Lin stone or spirit grass there. When he got closer, he realized that this was a nest. It looked quite big. Is it the nest of a demonic beast? He immediately took out a weapon from his storage bag. He couldn't underestimate the strength of the demonic beast like last time. There was room to test the sword and shield he had. As soon as he jumped into the nest, he immediately realized that there were spiritual herbs everywhere. It must have been the nest of the eagle bird at that time. At that moment, there was another noise behind him. Without any hesitation, Woon Sowol immediately turned around and raised his euphemism shield to defend himself. And waited but didn't see anything hitting him. He then curiously stuck his head out to see. That way. In the distance, the little pig was lying in the grave. Woon Sowol then breathed out, wondering if it turned out to be Nok Kentru's child. Could it be that the scene of the crocodile had taken his child away, so that day the new pig appeared? Woon Sowol went over and picked up some spiritual herbs for the little pig to eat. Looking at how delicious it looked, he was extremely excited. Eating the spiritual herbs looked so delicious, it also looked very good. Be good too, if I raise it until it can breathe fire, it will probably help me a lot in alchemy. Woon Sowol then immediately brought the little pig back to the village, the masters. Everyone, look at this. Everyone was extremely surprised when they saw the little pig. It was a jade pig that had just been born not long ago. Where did you catch it? Woon Sowol explained, I found it in the bird's nest. I thought it would be useful so I brought it back. Can you tame it? Woon Sowol nodded, of course it is possible. I can even tame an adult jade pig, let alone this motherless cub. Jonggon nodded in agreement, speaking of demonic beasts. Isn't your second master the best in the world? Woon Sowol proudly stroked his beard, ahem, not at the level of being the best in the world, but no matter where he went, he didn't feel ashamed haha. Jonggon sneered coldly, oh ho, I didn't see it. Shame on you, did you take out the Fei Yao Jinin knitting needle? Woon Sowol, speaking of demonic beasts, don't forget your second master. The little pig completely ignored them and was lying on the ground, wheezing. Woon Sowol excitedly asked Woon Sowol, yes master, but how long will it take for this kid to be able to breathe fire? Feng Gaochu stroked his chin in thought. To be able to breathe fire, it would probably take about 5 years. Woon Sowol sighed sadly, but 5 years? I thought it would be able to help me, right? Jonggon admonished, you have already become a warrior, this little boy. In the blink of an eye, 5 years have passed. Time flies by, autumn and winter have come, it's been 5 years, on one day. Beautiful spring. Woon Sowol walked out of the house with a sigh. His cultivation didn't seem to be progressing any further. If I could feel the Mandarin Gate, it would be good. Right now Jonggon jumped down from the tree trunk again. This guy is already greedy. It hasn't been long since he entered the heavenly Tai stage, but even if he was a genius who fell from the sky, he still wouldn't be able to enter the tragic shadow stage. At 20 years old, kid. Woon Sowol sighed, it's because you think the future is so unclear, that's why you said that. Jonggon stroked his chin thoughtfully, from what I see, being able to enter the shadow period immediately is a bit far-fetched. Why don't you try thinking about it? About using strength for other things? Woon Sowol asked in doubt, what is the other matter? Jonggon jumped down from him and asked, did Senior Li Hu teach you about the old Da? Woon Sowol scratched his face, did the great master teach? But the raw materials to make it are quite rare. Even though I know how to make it, it's a bit difficult to find the ingredients. However, the old pill is simply a medicinal pill that helps the appearance is always youthful, other than that there are few benefits. Jonggon teaches, I have taught you bone scooping and translation magic, which can change your appearance from a child to an old man. Isn't that right? Just that alone is enough to deceive other people's attention. But if you take the old pill when you're young, in addition to being able to detect the magic fluid of someone who has already cultivated high, even better is that you can make that person become absent-minded and reveal loopholes, causing others to accidentally lose their guard. This is a huge advantage. The next day at a waterfall in the forest. Woon Sowol is here picking herbs. He looked at the mountain in front of him and smiled. It turns out there are so many blue water herbs here needed to refine immortal pills. Now looks like it's just the beginning. Anyway, the ingredients needed to refine the old pills are too rare, so I keep having to go far away from the village. Lately I haven't had time to rest because I have to practice all the time. By the way, now that I'm here, let's relax a bit. I'm going to practice anyway, How about I practice a lot of old Dan, then give it to my masters and uncles as well. Soaking my feet, he was comfortably drunk. Suddenly he stood up and turned around to look back. Something was coming very close. Without hesitation he took out the flag from his storage bag. Ghost Valley's hidden image formation was quickly deployed. After hiding carefully, Woon Sowol began to analyze that it was a human voice. Do people live in the magical beast forest? No, it could also be a shaman living in hiding. Very quickly 2 women came. They were unaware of Woon Sowol's presence nearby. Just seeing the stream in front of them, they excitedly exchanged words. Be you young, it's too hot, so go downstairs and take a shower first. Hi, you'll go down and take a shower too. When Woon Sowol saw these 2, his heart was filled with joy. Surprising, what, they are different from me and my masters, could it be that those people are women? The 2 of you walked and pretended to talk. You have to maintain your youthful skin, just sit and rest in the shade. Hi, how can that be? Let's go take a bath together. Woon Sowol looked at the 2 women in front of him and thought. Although he had never met a woman, his instincts told him how beautiful they are. Seeing them laughing right in front of him, he immediately closed his eyes and calmed his mind. If not, he had to stay awake. The 4 masters had already told him, if you see someone in the magical beast forest, pretend you didn't see him and go away. He also said, absolutely do not trust women's words, and do not go near them. The 2 women quickly took off their clothes and jumped into the lake to bathe. Woon Sowol blushed and looked at the pile of clothes on the shore. It turns out that the 2 of them are doctors. If those 2 people are Thien Tai Ky magicians, surely the Phoenix capsule will contain magic tools. The easiest way to get magical tools is to steal other magicians' capsules. This is what Zhang Gan taught him. Remembering his master's teachings, Woon Sowol was still extremely hesitant in his heart, but he didn't want to steal things of someone who has never harmed me at all. At this moment, from the bushes behind, another person came out. Without hesitation, he excitedly rushed forward to pick up 2 storage bags. This treasure capsule is mine now. The 2 women bathing in the lake immediately frowned and looked up. As soon as the middle-aged man touched the storage bag, his eyes immediately widened. 2 on the storage bag, suddenly countless black gas flew out. Seeing that the other person was poisoned and kneeling on the ground screaming, the 2 women slowly went ashore and put on their clothes. It turned out to be clothes. You idiot, Zhou Zhigong, today is the last day we see you. Woon Sowol looked at the poisoned middle-aged man writhing in pain on the ground and silently nodded. The 4 masters were right. After I absolutely won't trust this woman. The blonde woman looked at the middle-aged woman angrily. I already said I wouldn't get married to you, but I didn't expect you still wouldn't give up. You even planned to corner and kill Bu young sister too. It's truly unforgivable. The middle-aged man's face trembled as he looked at them. What exactly did you guys do? The blonde woman replied calmly, even if you are a level 7 Thien Tai Ky, it is not easy to deal with 2 billion level 3 and level 4 shots of us at once. So I predicted that you would take advantage of our vulnerability and steal the capsule. I think that after you open the capsule, you will have to inhale the air that escapes from above, so I have put powder that can disperse spiritual energy into the fake capsule bag. If you cannot use the spirit force for a long period of time, then you will be no different from a mortal, so you should give up on this. Middle-aged sigh, as expected. I am blinded by lust, it was my eyes that fell for your schemes. After listening to them talk, Woon Sowol woke up. I thought they were evil women, but I didn't expect such a thing to happen. It seems I didn't. So there's no point in intervening. Even if that guy dies, it's worth it. At this moment, his eyes widened again. That's not good, he's hiding a needle in his hand. The middle-aged man clicked when the 2 women ignored the scene. Immediately took the opportunity to throw flying needles at them. Suddenly being attacked, the 2 of them had no time to react and could only stand there with their mouths open. Seeing that the needle was about to stab them. Woman. At this moment, there were a few stones flying to help them fly away the needles. The middle-aged man shouted angrily, damn, who is it? What bastard dares to disrupt his work? This old man. The 2 women were frightened. Weren't you affected by the powder? The middle-aged man clasped his hands and sneered coldly. Looking at the 2 of you calmly soaking in this valley. I already suspected this was a trap. I already know that you guys put all the powder in that bag. I took precautions before, so this amount of poison is not a big deal. As a person born and raised in this magical beast forest, you have to know how to think a little. If you can't deal with the traps outside, how can you survive in this place? If you don't want to be pinned to death by my chain, then quickly raise your hand and accept it. Tie it up. Although his mouth is so aggressive, in his heart he is extremely vigilant. After all, I can't be rude. Apparently there is another one nearby. Is he on the same side as these girls? Still unclear, but why hasn't he shown up yet? Could that guy be? At this moment the brown-haired woman clasped her hands and shouted loudly, "Thank you for your help, even though I received your help. Already helped, but I still take the liberty to ask for your help once again. If you help us, we will definitely repay your kindness." The middle-aged man sneered coldly, "What? I thought you guys had set a trap. At the same time, I prepared another plan in case of failure. Turns out it was just someone lucky enough to pass by and help you." Next he came again. I turned my head and looked back and laughed loudly. "I won't blame you for revealing my secret. On the contrary, if you help me control those girls, I will repay you handsomely." The woman's face immediately sank when she heard that. The middle-aged woman ignored them and continued to manipulate her mind. "I will give you everything I got from their capsules. I will also give you more. One of the low-level magical weapons that I have." Woon Sowol lurked in the background, silently analyzing in his heart, "That guy is level 7 Jo Jigong Thien Tai Ky, right? I've already reached level 4, and if I team up with the other two girls, I can completely defeat him." Thinking of this, he quickly walked out of the formation. The group of people, seeing him appear, they were all scared. Is he that close? Jo Jigang's heart sank. I can't find out his cultivation. How is this possible? Being able to hide his cultivation base like that, does that mean he has an extremely high cultivation level? Thinking for a moment, he then said to Woon Sowol, "Hey, what kind of cultivation are you? Both like a mortal and like a wise man, don't mind telling me a little, okay?" Woon Sowol secretly exclaimed in his heart, "The Four Masters' hidden true techniques are truly excellent. I was able to hide my strength from them really well." After thinking for a moment, he clasped his hands and said, "I just formed the internal pill not long ago. My current cultivation level is only level 3 in the alchemy stage." Jo Jigong stroked his beard and nodded. Having just entered the first stage of the alchemy stage, it should be about to really open up. It's reasonable to not be able to see the cultivation level, but for an alchemist, his hidden art is excellent. He can even see through the needles that I hide. Woon Sowol calmly explained. Thanks to the magic weapon that forms the magic formation, I can hide my body like that. Besides, I can detect needles because I have trained carefully to help my eyesight increase." Jo Jigong nodded. "Just two women from the opposite side, it turns out that's it. I wonder if you have any other magical weapons? Take it out to help us deal with those two brats." Woon Sowol clasped his hands and replied, "I also have the sword and shield left by my parents." Jo Jigong nodded. "Oh, is that so?" He secretly smiled in his heart. Cold, compared to his alchemy cultivation level, this guy has a lot of valuable things, isn't it? After dealing with those two kids, I will kill you too and take all those magic tools, ha ha ha. Thinking about it, he immediately spoke up and ordered, "Little brother, then please help me. If possible, I will give you some good advice to help you improve your cultivation." Woon Sowol without hesitation took out the magic weapon. "If the senior has said so, how can I refuse? I will help with all my might." The brown-haired woman clutched the long sword and shouted, "You scum! It's certainly not wrong to say that men are bastards. Today I will definitely kill you and that bastard Jo Jigong." Having finished speaking, he swung his sword and slashed at the two Woon Sowol.